right. I actually had a ginger lime last night, and I was going to put some bourbon in it, make a little Kentucky Mule, but
Oh, nice.
it didn't feel right. But now I know it's right.
To keep the culture and the entrepreneurial spirit is both me and Stephen are the culture, and we lead culture at Poppi. Right. I think like there's a lot of crazy founders out there that are like not present or on vacation or doing it, but like we're in the trenches. We both lead departments.
I love that. And by the way, you could have stopped that first sentence with, there's a lot of crazy founders out there.
There's a lot.
Really, really excited about. It's probably it's quickly become one of my favorite flavors that we've developed.
It's a lot of pressure for me to like it on air here as we go.
It's okay.
But you're a good actor, though.
You're good at acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
That's amazing. Actually, it is really good.
It's so good.
Welcome to Unlocking Moves. We want to dive into those key pivotal moments and decision points that really change the lives of successful entrepreneurs and leaders. And I want to hear stories because I learn the best from stories. But I want to hear their gory stories, not just their glory stories. Because as I like to say, the bigger the shit show, the bigger the lesson. You guys are in for a real treat today because I've got two of my new friends here in Austin, Texas. I've got Stephen and Allison Ellsworth. They're the co-founders of Poppi. And if you've never heard of Poppi, you will soon. But guys, before we dive in, I like to ask my guests an off-the-wall question, maybe throw in a comment to keep them on their toes, keep my audience on their toes. Ready for this?
Ready.
Let's go.
All right, so about 5 years ago, you guys were on Shark Tank.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Allison Ellsworth.
And I'm Stephen Ellsworth. And together, we're the co-founders of Mother Beverage based in Dallas, Texas.
And your beverage, as we see here, is Poppi, is an apple cider vinegar-based drink, and it tastes amazing. But on Shark Tank, you decided to lead off by giving all the sharks a shot of straight apple cider vinegar, which had to have tasted like crap.
Who wants to take a shot with me? Ready? Cheers. So as you guys know by now, that was a shot of apple cider vinegar.
So tell me a little bit about the background, because that was ballsy.
It
So
was.
who and why and what made you decide to do that?
I mean, it makes good TV. At the end of the day, Shark Tank is a TV show, but I'll never forget because I was extremely pregnant. And so while practicing, Stephen actually ended up taking, I think, like 6 shots. Like it made him so physically ill. So going in, highly don't recommend doing that. But I will never forget Bethany Frankel's face.
That was a shot of
screaming at us, like, how dare we make her do it? And it was quite a moment.
Yeah, she literally got on the ground and was like rolling around, screaming. It was this whole thing.
So they didn't know it was going to be straight apple cider vinegar when you did it.
No, the best part about Shark Tank is you don't know anything and they don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's truly that way. And so we went in there, we made it sound like they were taking a shot for like the club. And it was a shot of apple cider vinegar. So
Oh, that's awesome. Well, kudos to you for having the guts to do that and for pulling it off. And obviously spoiler alert, they were funded on Shark Tank.
we did get a deal.
So, awesome. As you can tell, my guests today are Stephen and Allison Ellsworth. They are the co-founders of Poppi. They were, I'll say, discovered at a farmer's market in Dallas, Texas around 7 years ago. And then they were on Shark Tank around 5 years ago. And now they're found on stores of every major retailer out there. And they even had a Super Bowl ad this past year. Badass. Welcome to Unlocking Moves, Stephen and Allison.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having
Cheers.
us. Excited to be here.
Well, I can't wait to dive into your story. It's amazing. But let's do that. Let's do this. I was trying to decide where to start. And there's so many places we can go around leadership and a husband-wife duo who are building an amazing team. You've shared your story a few times, but I would like for my audience to get a little bit of a base case. Like, tell me a little bit about your story. Can you, at a high level, tell me the background on Poppi? Because I find that fascinating myself.
Well, Poppi has changed quite a bit over the years, but really our mission is to revolutionize soda for the next generation. And it really is that simple. Like, do you want your kids to be raised on Poppi or traditional soda at the end of the day? And for me, it's Poppi. And so when we started this in our kitchen a while ago, it started because I had some health problems, nothing major, didn't feel good, started drinking apple cider vinegar, hated the taste. As we spoke about earlier, it was disgusting. And I was like, how do we make this taste good? It's evolved over time, really. And then when we launched Poppi from farmer's market to Shark Tank, we decided after Shark Tank to really pull back and find out who our consumer was. And then we launched Poppi in March of 2020, right when COVID hit.
If you're just joining us on Unlocking Moves, today's episode is brought to you as usual by Hire Better, the strategic talent partner for growth-minded entrepreneurs everywhere. So tell me the farmer's market story, because that I heard that a little while ago, and I thought it was a fascinating story.
Yeah, I mean,
And what was it? It was called something else before Poppi too, right?
Yeah, it was called Mother. So
yeah.
apple cider vinegar has the mother in it, which is supposedly the good stuff, right? That has all of the health properties. And so that was really our whole value prop, right? Was apple cider vinegar and mother. So what better way to call our beverage Mother Beverage? And it was our third weekend, right, at the farmer's market.
Weeks in, yeah.
It was a bustling day. We had lines, creating a lot of buzz, giving samples. And that was when a local forager from Whole Foods approached our booth and tried our product and pulled Allison aside and said, I love what you guys are doing here. People are excited about it. She's like, we have nothing like this in our store. I'd love for you guys to be in Whole Foods.
Well, she was there with her mom too, which I think was cool. She wasn't there like with Whole Foods working.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I never do this. I'm literally on vacation with my mom. Here's my card. You guys need to be in Whole Foods. So I think at that point is where it hit us like, oh, we have a business. At the time, it was kind of like a hobby. We had amazing careers in oil and gas research previous to this. We were starting a family. I think I was 3 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, oh, we have a beverage company. And I almost feel like moments like that they're kind of like those aha moments. And that was definitely one for us.
I'm going to venture to say that was going to be one of your unlocking moves. That somebody discovered you from Whole Foods. I hope can you share her name so we
Kelly Landreau. She changed our lives. Shout out.
We honestly still connect with her. And it's been so fun. She's been just such a champion for us. And at Whole Foods meetups, she'll have us come speak in front of the Whole Foods team every once in a while. But she's just such a huge cheerleader, and it's been awesome.
Awesome.
She really. And
technically, she was off the clock that day, so she worked overtime for you guys.
She discovered us.
Hey, so what's her name again?
Kelly.
Kelly, let's do a toast to Kelly. If you can reach around the mic.
All right.
A toast, and also we'll see that this actually tastes amazing, guys.
Yes, it does.
Cheers.
I love that. Shout out.
All right. While we're shouting out, let's shout out the folks from Texas Hill Country Provisions. You notice we're doing this live because I've got both these folks are in Austin. And so I didn't have enough room in my studio. So I asked my friends, Chris and Madison at Texas Hill Country Provisions, can we do it in your recording studio? So thank you guys. This is the Chill Country recording studio. So thanks, everybody. All right. So what makes Poppi so good and so popular? I guess the taste is good, but that can't be just the taste, right?
The taste is amazing.
It is. No, I think, the number one reason people drink Poppi is because it tastes good. So I think what we do really well is we've created a brand and a community that people want to be a part of, right? Mm-hmm. And it goes back to right when we launched during COVID, we didn't have traditional CPG or marketing or really we didn't know what we were doing, and almost I'm so glad we didn't, because if we would have known, would we have done this? I don't know. But we got online pretty early within like TikTok and digital first. I mean, I have over 2 billion views on TikTok to date, but it's like one of those things where we built our community grassroots from the bottom up and built a brand, and we have a great product. And that's really hard to do, to have both of those.
Yeah, I think we wanted to, for us, I think taste was always king, right? And I think you can have a great brand, you can have a great marketing team, be super disruptive, but if you don't have a product that provides that backbone of something that people love and want to consume all the time, it's all for naught. And so I think that's something that her and we've got a great relationship, but when we talk about product, that's where we
fight.
We're so passionate about it. It's like, what tastes good? I like this. No, I like this. And so I think it's honestly that healthy conflict that allows us to really come up with the best tasting flavors.
I love it. You do have a profile that tastes amazing. All the ones I've had taste great. And you're very, very popular. You built the brand. As a friend described it to me earlier, from this 10-year-old girl, calls it the It Girl Soda.
This is amazing, because I don't think that's actually the first time we've heard that. But I think what you said is soda, because you can't call yourself a soda unless you taste good. So people are always like, when do you drink Poppi? And I'm like, anytime you would drink a soda, whether it's with a burger, afternoon refreshment, or honestly as a mocktail or a cocktail. So I love that.
Ooh, now we're getting somewhere. Maybe I'll save that question for no. Let me ask it now. What do you mix it with? What's a good mixer?
Ooh, okay.
Or it's the mixer. What's the
I'm
alcohol?
obsessed with like our ginger, lime, and tequila, or orange, and you make like a mimosa with it. But I mean, we have like Coke and Jack. I mean, it's honestly, it's anything you would put a soda with, but better.
I love it. All right. I actually had a ginger lime last night, and I was going to put some bourbon in it, make a little Kentucky Mule, but
Oh, nice.
Yummy.
it didn't feel right. But now I know it's right.
No, it's okay.
All right, perfect.
We'll
Yeah,
allow.
it's great taste. You enjoy a cocktail without all the sugar,
There you
right?
go.
I love it. All right, so let's dive into Shark Tank because most of my audience is entrepreneurs or people around entrepreneurs. A lot of folks want to understand the process or how it works. Can you tell me a little bit about the experience? I've heard it takes 1 or 2 hours to actually do the pitch, and obviously it's a 5 or 8 minute segment on the show. Stephen, you were sweating your ass off on the
So
episode,
bad.
so
So
it
bad.
was a long day for you.
So bad.
Tell me a little bit about the experience.
Yeah, it was like it's probably one of the most stressful days of my life. It's the funny thing is, most people don't know, you actually have to check out with a therapist after you pitch on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Because it is considered one of the most stressful days that any person will go through. And so you literally spend 30 or 45 minutes with a therapist to like decompress after they like release you and let you go home. But yeah, I mean, it was super stressful. The thing is there's only like 90 seconds that are rehearsed in the whole Shark Tank thing. And so those 90 seconds are, hi, I'm Steven and I'm Allison and we're the, and then from there, it's just rapid fire questions. Right. So Allison's answering question about, the product, and Mark Cuban is over here. He's from Dallas. He's like, where's your facility in Dallas? What part of town are you guys from? Where, and sort of asking these personal questions, and everybody's talking over each other. So it's, it's a lot to process all at once, but honestly, a great experience.
I don't know, we were one of the few people that didn't know better, and we went to like an open casting call and waited 8 hours in line, and like I guess you can just apply online. And then I think when we went through the whole process, it took about 6 months. I was pregnant with our second, and by the time it got to the end, we were like 2 weeks before. I was like 9 months pregnant, had the baby 10 days later. But it was like this whole process, and then you don't know who your sharks are. There's just so much unknown. I remember after we got the deal, we went and like took a nap.
Hey, can we pause with that for just a second? She said 9 months pregnant. She literally had a baby boy 6 or 7 days later. God bless you. Holy smokes.
Yeah. I mean, with our first, when we were starting, because we opened our own manufacturing facility, I think I went into labor on the bottling line and was back on 2 weeks later with Theo strapped to me, and then I think we always say like me pregnant, like having kids, like does really good things for the business, but I'm done.
Yeah.
Noted. I am done.
Well, the fact that she was in the facility like the next day with her baby strap, that makes her a good partner, right?
Exactly. In the trenches.
I love it. I was going to ask you what it takes to be on the show, but you went through the open casting. Did you know who, 2 questions. Did you know who you wanted to be the shark that, if anybody were to say yes? I'm assuming yes, but given Rohan's background. And then number 2, you came in asking for 10% or wanting to sell 10% for $400,000. You ended up settling at 25% for $400,000. Had you talked about what your levels were? Did you know going in where you would go?
Yeah, I mean, I think like Shark Tank does their own diligence, and that was a conversation that I had a lot with them. You were included a little bit in that, was just pushing valuation up, knowing that the sharks are sharks. They want a deal, right? So I think at that time, our revenue over the last 18 months was like $750,000. So definitely a sporty valuation. And then to answer your question on the sharks, we found out the night before. We had seen the show, and so we were like, hey, we would love for this person to be on the show, but we didn't know until less than 24 hours in advance. But I think once Ro was on there, I think Bethany was another one. Everyone that had like beverage background, we were excited about.
No, but I think people forget, like, we probably would have gone out of business if we hadn't gotten a deal on Shark Tank. And like, they see the success and the bright and shiny of Poppi now, but I mean, we were in the trenches. I mean, to the point where we'd quit our jobs, like the AC in the truck breaks, you can't afford to fix it. Like he's working a second job to pay our rent. Like we got to the point where we're like, okay, we're doing this, or like we have to give up our dream. So walking into it, it was a lot of, we need this to change our lives.
That's why I was sweating so bad.
Well, let's stick on that, because I do say the bigger the shit show, the bigger the lesson.
Yes.
You guys are a shining example, but there's no limit to the shining examples of people who were on the floor, living out of their car, whatever, and end up being an amazing story. Mm-hmm. But most of the population don't see that part. They just see the Poppi on the shelves and that you guys are doing amazing now. Mm-hmm. Can you talk me through a couple of those days where you truly are air conditioners broke in the middle of July in Dallas, Texas with a 9-month mm-hmm. pregnant? Tell me some of that.
Yeah, I think we always say in 6 months we quit our job, we bought a house, we got pregnant, and we started the business. Right. So we were
not very smart.
No, but it paid
correct.
off. No, it paid off.
We had saved up some money, and there was a little bit more context behind that. But I think, as you talk about being in the trenches, one of the most vibrant images that's been burned in my brain is I come from cold climates, so Texas summers are challenging for me. So I'd go early days, start at the farmer's market, set up. It's already like 95 degrees out there, just completely sweating, right? Then I'd get in my truck with no AC, and I would drive to a Whole Foods with an extra change of clothes because I was so hot. And I would change in the parking lot and park all the way in the back because I was so embarrassed of like people seeing me in my truck. And I'd walk up, I'd do that at 2 Whole Foods stores, and then I'd go back and shut down the farmer's market. So literally from sun up to sundown, I'm just like constantly sweating in this truck that has
a step. The wife over here, we also had our own manufacturing facility with equipment that had no AC that you're bottling in all week. So there was extra steps of no heat or pure heat, and honestly hell at the end of the day. But I love that. I think going through that gave us a really intimate understanding of how our product is made. We've done every single job at Poppi. And so when it comes down to it and we go out to these big fancy things, I'm still on the floor, breaking cases open and building the displays. And you see the young kids behind you, playing on their phones. And you're just come on. I'm we still have it. You know what I mean? It drives me.
That grit.
I love it. More entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs need to hear that. Need to hear the stories of knowing how the process works and being able to, before you outsource, know how it works yourself, and the grit and the mental fortitude and the physical fortitude, everything it takes to be successful. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so fast forward a few years later, there was a second episode of Shark Tank where they said kind of, where are you now? You had rebranded from Mother to Poppi. But Allison, you had a quote, and I want to ask you about this quote. It says, at the time of the episode, you were 9 months pregnant. And then on the follow-up, it looked like you had 2 kids in the picture, which I know is true. And you say, you can do it all, live your dream, have a company, and have a family. Right. So my question is, was that true at the time? And how is that going now 3 to 4 years later with another kid?
It's a lot harder. It is way harder, but I think that I've been an inspiration for a lot of people of you can, if you have the right support system, right? Ask for help, stay positive, work a lot of hours, and then don't sleep. You can get a lot done. Now I think that the buzzword nowadays is self-care and doing all these things. And I do think there's different ways to self-care, but when you're building an empire and a family at the same time, I know this is not forever. I know this is the best years of my life to put that time and effort in to grow. And I'm okay with that. And that's a decision that I'm very excited to be doing. And then I think that I've established that culture even at Poppi, where breastfed on Zooms. My baby, our national meeting one year where we brought over 100 employees together, he was still young. I brought him with me, and I brought my mom. And so much so that I had 2 other people in the company. One other person, I said, bring your baby too, right? It's okay as long as it's part of the culture and it's not this old school way of thinking. And we're really proud at Poppi. I think we're over 60% female. We hire young, we hire really gritty, amazing people. But I do think society has made us choose. And I had someone once in PR after my baby was back on Zooms, I think in the labor and delivery room, 2 hours after. And I was well, he's sleeping. And she's you got to set a better example. And I said, I am setting the example that I want to set. Now I'm not going to discourage anyone else. And she came back to me 3 months later. She goes, I'm 42. I decided to get pregnant for the first time because you made me realize I could do it all. And so it's that's a great inspiration as well. You don't have to choose on either side.
Yeah, and I think something we've talked about too is when kids are young, they just need to know that they're loved, right? They're really not going to have many memories beyond, earlier than 5 years old, 6 years old, that are going to be any different than my parents were there. They loved me. They cared for me. And so I think that's always been for us. I think we try and divide and conquer and be at home and be present and be active in their lives, especially as they get older. But, I think for us, if we tell ourselves that this is for our family, we have to show up and deliver on that.
I love it. And this may be I have a segue to another topic, but before I go there, I want to point out to the audience that the reason I know these folks is because I coached their 7-year-old boy in baseball this past year in the spring at Oak Hill. And by the way, we won the championship, the Mighty Marlins.
Best coach we've had
Ever.
And it was a great experience. And I'm hoping to get Sebi the next one next year. So,
Yeah.
We're ready.
Yeah, let's go.
all right, perfect. The segue was you talked about that spirit of the organization and the culture. How do you keep that entrepreneurial spirit as you grow? Now you are exponentially bigger, and you share whatever numbers you feel comfortable sharing than you were when you obviously started. But how do you keep that entrepreneurial spirit?
I think, just for context, some fun numbers, like Poppi is the #1 selling soda on Amazon for years. We're one of the fastest growing beverages in the nation, if not the fastest beverage in the history of beverage, right? Just like in 4 years from growth to where we are in every single grocery store, Canada, Mexico, right? And then even on top of it, there's 2 of us in March of 2020. We're going to have 180 employees,
Wow.
right? Just there's so many unforeseen wild things that have happened in our growth. And I think that to keep the culture and the entrepreneurial spirit is both me and Stephen are the culture, and we lead culture at Poppi. Right. I think like there's a lot of crazy founders out there that are like not present or on vacation or doing it, but like we're in the trenches. We both lead departments. I do new hire meetings. We get company retreats. Like it's a priority. But the change from being entrepreneurial to where we are today has changed because we are not a startup anymore.
I love that. And by the way, you could have stopped that first sentence with, "There's a lot of crazy founders out there."
There's a lot.
If you think we are, don't tell us. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
exactly.
It's always the ones who don't know the ones who are the most crazy.
Yeah.
Now, you're also disrupting a category, obviously. How do you continue to disrupt with the pace of growth that you've had?
Poppi's in one. So if you take 10 households in America, we're 1 in 10 households in America. Soda has a 96% household penetration, meaning like most houses have some kind of soda. So for us to like continue to gain on that, but really being digital first has been a breakthrough for us. And from day one, you mentioned we were on Shark Tank for the second time. We filmed that in 2019, right before COVID hit. And it aired second month of COVID when everyone was stuck at home. It was second month of lockdown. It was like one of the most viewed Shark Tank episodes, second month of business, that just a national commercial. So I think there's just been a lot of things that have like kind of supercharged us from the beginning to go from startup to now emerging to a challenger brand.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a lot of it comes down to execution, right? I think I think that's where we've married sort of the good entrepreneurial spirit with sort of the business fundamentals from industry veterans, right? How do they do the blocking and tackling? How do they help us execute and bring more visibility and data in decision making? But I think it's allowed us to really stay disruptive and creative, right? And still continue to execute and be the visionaries for the brand. So I think that's been, I think, something really unique at Poppi.
There's a couple of things you've said, Allison, I want to come back to that dovetails with what you're saying there, Stephen, and that is a focus on being digitally first or digitally minded, or forget the term.
Digitally first.
Tell me more about that, because obviously that's your brand and you're hitting it at the peak of social media and content.
Yeah, we were one of the first brands back in 2020 to get on TikTok. And a lot of people are like, well, as a brand, how do I navigate this authentic, really public figure facing dancing platform? And I was like, there's just so much more to it. It's a way to authentically connect with our community like no brands had really done before. And up until that point, you have Instagram, which is like your website. If someone looks at your brand, they're like, probably go to either your website or Instagram, right? It's high gloss. It's a little bit more of an education vehicle of like perfect perfection. And things have changed. I mean, COVID changed all of us into this like real, like showing up in your PJs and it being like socially acceptable mindset. So I just got on, and one night I sat down, I told our story of Shark Tank to our, growth, and it went absolutely viral. I think that video has over 120 million views. And it opened our eyes to how we can drive in-store retail purchase, email, SMS, Amazon. I mean, just recently, Prime Day was last week. In a matter of, I think, 2 days, we did $4 million driving from our partnership with Amazon, just on Amazon in 48 hours or something crazy. Wow. And it's
our
all
revenue
driven.
in 2020 was 3.5.
Yeah. So in 2 days.
2 days. Yeah. Nice.
So, I always have a lot of people say, like, how do you be so digitally? It's just like, it's native and the way of thinking, and it's top down. We don't leave it up to the intern to figure out TikTok or the social media. Like our CEO, Chris, will be in TikTok. Stephen will be in we have like everybody. It's like part of our culture. We don't resist it. We embrace it.
So I think that's powerful. Everybody is using it, and you're embracing digital and social media, and everybody who's building a brand out there should pay attention to that quote and leverage the crap out of that, because you've embraced it and made it authentic and natural for you.
Yeah. And nobody really cares like what you like. If you have 200 views, like I had 200 views, now I have 2 billion, but like if it doesn't work, no one scrolls way down on TikTok and looks what you did a month ago. Just like keep posting and have fun.
Dude, I'm going to get tens, if not dozens of views from this podcast. So
12 whole views.
Kurt, I'm right there with you.
I'm 12 of them.
I'm right. But I think one of the important things though is, as you said, like not only is it a tool to reach people, to let them know about your brand, but as she chatted about, community, right? And I think as you're building a brand, that authentic connection is so important. I think a lot of the time for us, we want to inspire consumers, and it's through that community that we build trust. And when you take the decision making process, from your mind to your heart, it's pretty incredible what it can do for the brand and the growth rate.
I love that. Take the decision making from your mind to your heart. So much of life could be changed that way if we took that perspective. Okay, so you had a turning point and a bet the farm kind of moment when you went on Shark Tank. Last year, I don't know what the timing was, but you had the opportunity to do a Super Bowl ad. Maybe not a bet the farm type of moment, but a big freaking moment for a 4-year-old, 3.5-year-old company. Tell me about that process.
That was quite a process. So for a long time, we knew it was our year to do a Super Bowl ad. We started planning for it months before that. And because of the writer strike, it was really hard to buy one this year. It was the only new piece of, really TV content that people could advertise on because of it. So they sold out crazy early. So basically when that happens, you have to go to like the secondary market and buy it on what they call as remnant inventory. And we were able to secure a spot in if the Super Bowl would go into overtime. We would air. And in 50 years, the Super Bowl had only gone into overtime once. And we were all like, oh, what do we do here? It's just like such a big chance. And then 4 days before the Super Bowl, I was at this thing and I joked around with someone. I was like, hey, do you have a Super Bowl ad for sale? And he's like, we actually do have one that came up literally yesterday or something like that. So we got the team on. We ended up switching to get this one, and it was not a guaranteed spot. It was what they call a floater pod. You don't know when it's going to air. And we took the chance, gambled on it, ended up airing 1 minute before Usher went on for halftime, and it was the most viewed Super Bowl ad and the most viewed Super Bowl of all time. Like, it was wildly successful. We tripled our awareness overnight. And it was a great gamble. We were prepared for it, but not at that level. And it was such a breakthrough moment for the brand this year.
Yeah, it really was. It was funny too, because obviously it went into overtime. So we had sort of a chuckle on the back end. The spot was at a 50% discount, which would have been great. But the Super Bowl ad was amazing.
I'll take the first spot over the overtime any
Incredible.
day.
By the way, I really want to hate you guys. because of all the great fortune. You're both amazingly good
Yeah.
looking. You're amazingly talented.
Yeah.
I want to hate you, but you're so lovable. So,
Well, thank you.
I will take it.
Yeah.
all right. So I want to shift gears. So you guys know I wrote a book called Who's Your Mic? I got a little product placement here myself. We'll put that in front of the Poppy.
Yeah. Lean
Send
it
it
up.
up.
So you guys know that each different chapter is a different archetype, a different story about an employee you've had on your entrepreneurial journey. I know you guys have read some of it. Do you have a favorite character, whether it's Mike or Harry the Hustler or Pipeline Paul, anybody like that?
I mean, I'm partial to Harry the Hustler. I think that there's actually quite a few of the archetypes that speak to us. I think just as small business startup, there's a lot of things that are relatable. But yeah, I mean, I think for us, in the early days, that's what we valued, right? You'd say, hey, guy, here's your guy or girl, here's your job description, and it would be that plus 20, times 20,
Everything.
And so we needed those folks that would just hustle and do whatever, that run through a brick wall to get it done.
But then it was time to promote to be a leader in the organization. Maybe not the best fit for the executive team.
It's been tough, with our explosive growth. Any of the senior leadership team have never dealt with what's happened at Poppi. For us, it's all we know. But I will say it's been a little bit tough to see people that been there from the beginning. We get to the point where you have to have process, you have to have leadership skills and people skills, and be able to sell a story and data, and that hustle mentality. I want both, but it's really hard to find. And as you grow, you have to get a little bit more specialized and change. And look, I was one of the most resistant to it, I'll be honest, from the beginning. But we had a realization, I would say maybe a year and a half ago, where I did for me personally, where I was running the marketing, we were doing all this, and I was like, I'm maybe not the best suited person to be running our marketing department. No, what I'm really good at is visionary, creative, disruption. It's how do we focus on that? And we brought in a CMO, right? That was the hardest year of my life. Ups and downs, got a coach to get me through it and do all those things. So that hustle mentality, but I had to learn how to be a good people leader. And I found a way to marry the two, but that's really hard to do, to get someone to get there. So as we've grown, it's been a different thing that we've honestly had to learn throughout this process.
Yeah, both of us. I mean, I went through a similar experience. One thing, though, that I would like to touch on, I think, is that I think we've done a good job, or just the organization in general, is there are some people that sort of the Peter principle, right? They get to a certain level, they can't hack it. But I think for us, culture has been so important for us. And so it's not to say that we save people all of the time, right? But how can we make adjustments? Maybe we put them in a specialized sole contributor role, right, where they provide a lot of that knowledge, but they also provide a lot of cultural support, and it goes a long way with the morale. And so I think it's a fine balance, but
100%.
Yeah, when you have the folks who are willing to take a individual contributor role versus continue to grow with the title, then you've got a winning solution. Someone who's humble enough and didn't have the ego. So good, thank you for sharing.
yeah.
Okay, so we're at the part of the show where we talk about your unlocking move. I think we've covered a couple, but let's maybe touch on that. Unlocking move, again, is a key pivotal moment or decision point that really changed the trajectory of your company or your career or your life. Is it safe to say Farmers Market might be one and Shark Tank might be the other? I don't want to. Any other ones that I'm not thinking of?
No, I think Farmers Market, Shark Tank, TikTok, Super Bowl. Now we're just waiting for the next.
Yeah. On to the next. No, I think TikTok was a huge one.
Tell me more about that. I don't think we've talked too much about TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, other than the virality and the way, for example, I love telling this story. We were one of the only brands, obviously talking and really promoting on TikTok between paid and organic. And we got a phone call one day from the buyer of Publix grocery, where it's this big grocery store chain. Shout out. We love our Publix family. But they're about 1,800 locations, Georgia, Florida area. And they called and they said, hey, I walked in one day, my daughter was drinking Poppi, and she was like, Dad, why don't you have Poppi in Publix? And they reached out to us because she'd seen us on social media. So that shows real impact, how you can have revenue driving. Another really fun one was how we activated our community on TikTok. Was we were trying to grow nationally in a big retailer. They only gave us one little region. They were kind of negotiating hard with us. I I think they bought 3 months worth of product. I green screened the locations of where it was, and I told our community to go buy it. They sold us out in 24 hours. We got a nationwide rollout the next week. So it just shows, like, if you activate your community, you're native to being digitally first, like how, and you utilize it as a tool within your business, it can work really well together.
Yeah. I think like one of the moments too is because you recognized so early on that TikTok was like the next wave, and it was such this tool. We had some pretty significant conversations about where we allocate budget and resources to, and we had this growth hacker. And that was, in on the early days of advertising on Facebook and then on Instagram. And he's like TikTok. He's like, this is the Wild West, and so we were getting 10, 20x the impressions for the same cost. And so at that early time point, that early period, we were just able to really accelerate the growth of the business. It was risky because TikTok was an unproven platform, and we shifted, our budget over there. But I think that was such a huge unlock, and that's really what started the flywheel. Then our video went viral, and so I think it's some of that I think was a pretty bold.
Yeah, but I mean, it goes even into Instagram. So like we were the first to like really lean into Reels because we were so video native from TikTok, to where now like our engagement rate is like 4x the standard across like CPG and honestly just consumer goods in general. Like our engagement rate's through the roof, but really video is the future, and it will continue to be. So YouTube is a big focus for us this year, and like continue to be content first and digital first. I don't think it's going away, and people that resist it, it's going to be tough to catch up.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And I want to touch on something that I want my audience to hear. And each of those steps along the way sound, if you're a naysayer, sound lucky. The reality is you busted your ass to make that happen. Mm-hmm. So many people have a chance to go on Shark Tank. Who wouldn't want to? But not very many people take the extra step to go do a tryout or whatever for Shark Tank. Many people could sell their wares at farmers market, and they don't. Mm-hmm. Many people have the opportunity to buy a Super Bowl ad. My point is, luck is what happens to us when we're prepared and we bust our ass. Mm-hmm. So I want the audience to hear that and perhaps be inspired by it.
Well, another interesting thing is we're a beverage, right? Like we are a consumable good that people drink with the burger. A really big pushback I got from like top down about a year and a half ago was I had this dream to do an apparel line within and you're like, how does that make sense for this? You don't want to just like throw a Poppi logo. And I know, it builds brands. Mm-hmm. And we started doing hype drops a couple times a year, went crazy viral. And now we're literally in works with a huge national retailer to like launch our own clothing line with them next year. And it's just like, we're a beverage. Like we're that cool that we can do that. It's so fun. And like, why not do that and like focus on brand building versus just products?
Well, when you do the t-shirts and you go through Texas Hill Country Provisions for the t-shirts, I want 10% of everything you sell. Right. Okay.
Love.
So I consider myself the listener's advocate. If I've got Stephen and Allison Ellsworth here in a room by myself, what would I want Kurt to ask? So here's my question. It's a two-part question. Tell me a flavor that you're working on that you're really excited about that hasn't been released yet, possibly. And I want a really crappy flavor that you either released or you tried to release, but it was just so bad you couldn't get it out. Besides the original apple cider vinegar.
Yeah. He's head of product.
Wait, which one's the bad guy? You're the bad product and you're the good product? Tell me.
We're just very different.
We're both good cop.
He's like mainstream and I'm like, everything like.
Yeah, I'm a tough middle
cookie.
America. I hate to say white trash, but like mainstream, like in CPG, like, Bubba going to the C-store buying Cokes and smokes, that's my palate. Right.
So the Coca-Cola or not, what's it called? What do you call it? The cola version?
Yeah. We have a classic cola.
Yeah. Classic cola.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you got coming out? So
we've got this cherry cola. I can't say cherry Coke, but we've got cherry cola. This one I'm really, really excited about. It's probably, it's quickly become one of my favorite flavors that we've developed.
It's a lot of pressure for me to like it on air here as we go.
But you're a good actor, though.
You're good at acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
that's amazing. Actually, it's really good.
It's so good, and we just love it. I think this one could potentially be like our next number one flavor. Mm-hmm. We just dropped our orange cream. It's so delicious that we want to do like a whole cream line. Like there's so much fun to do just within soda, right? Like I love Poppi. We're like modern soda for the next generation. We have a raspberry rose one. Like for me, that can be modern soda, but these are a traditional like orange cream, cherry cola, grape, lemon lime, like literally on this right here. But I think probably one of the worst flavors was probably one of the back of the day. We had like a lavender lemon and like a grapefruit mint, some like weird stuff. One that everyone wants back by popular demand, we had like a pineapple mango.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we might have to bring that one back someday.
I think like there's one flavor that we just kept on working on, and I think it's, I don't know, I like products. You taste some of these, and you know, some of them have 20 plus formulas that have been in the market that consumers are drinking, and they get changed. And you know, I'm constantly tinkering. I kind of get my hand slapped for it a little bit, but we initially launched a strawberry vanilla. And we wanted to change that, so we changed it to strawberry lime, and that wasn't doing it. So then we changed it to a strawberry lemon strawberry lemonade.
That's my favorite right now.
Yeah.
You're not taking it away, are you?
No, it's
No,
our
no,
number
no.
one seller.
No, but then we got hit with a cease and desist, and it got changed to strawberry and lemon. The strawberry lemon colors. It was a whole thing. Anyways, that's in the past. But I love product because you can iterate, and I think
Listen to your consumer.
it's almost like a microcosm for business, right? Because I feel like so many of us, myself included, is you don't want to start because it's not perfect. It's like, when is it going to be perfect, right? And I think that product is a great example. Sometimes you got to give yourself a timeline, and you got to launch the product, but you have to be open to feedback and know that you'll pivot and trust yourself that you'll make decisions. And
and
love
get online and tell your story and have people vote along the way.
Yeah, but I love product for that particular example, because I think consumers they're always open for something better. You can't make it worse. You can't ever make it worse. But if it's as good as or better, it gives you a lot of opportunity to be that mad scientist behind the scenes.
So let me reframe some of what you said, because I want the audience to make sure they hear this. Don't be the perfectionist and wait to launch. Get it out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be good enough in many cases. And be open to iterate based on the responses you get from your consumers. So stay close to your consumers. So it's some very powerful lessons just in those 3 points right there.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got a couple of last questions for you. The first one is, I want to ask you guys one question that you're never asked, and either you kind of wish they would, or you're secretly glad they don't.
Oh no. I don't know. We're such open books that I'm like,
I've got one framed up, but I want to see if anything comes to mind. Any like
Do you have
deep dark secrets?
No, I mean, you spill the beans on everything, so.
I do.
Oh, now we got to
Literally,
fight. Now we got a.
yeah, open book over here. Really. No, I think it is important. I think like through business, you go through like waves of ups and downs and highs and lows. And I share kind of like everything along the way. Hence, you know, the 2 billion views on TikTok. A lot of times I just get on and talk and just see how we're doing.
So here's my question. 8 years ago, Stephen was in a contest in Dallas.
Oh my God.
Came in
Yes.
second place in the, let me see if I got this right. Hold on.
It's so good.
Come on now.
I'm obsessed.
Second place in
Deep in the archives.
2016 Europa Dallas Men's Classic Physique Novice Class C. And
Wow, that's some
we're
research.
gonna show this picture online for everybody. But that's 8 years ago. The dude was a badass. Look at that picture.
Look at that picture.
Wow.
So
Who is that
He
guy?
still looks the same.
Who
I
is
would
that
like
guy?
to say 8 years later, with 3 kids later, that you would have a dad bod, but not nearly the
No,
dad
he's
bod
so
I
young.
have.
Yeah.
So how do you
You
do
do all
that?
right.
By the way, you both are incredibly great looking. This is not just a shot at Steve.
No, when he wanted to do
It's
this,
it's the tanner. It's the tanner.
Fun backstory: I was pregnant with our first, and
Yeah.
he'd always wanted to do it. I said, "Do it now, because after we have kids, you will never do this."
Yeah.
And he did it, and we had kids, and he's never done it again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a great thing. Working out for me is mostly a mental release or outlet, if you will. I think the physical attributes are obviously a nice to have, but I think for me that's what helps me stay grounded through business and through kids, is just this healthy outlet to sort of break away. You're improving yourself, opportunity to get some mental clarity and sort of think through things. So
I wish I
that's
had
what I
more
love
of
about it.
that. Yeah, he's so good. Like he'll work out literally on vacation, even if we're in town for like 24 hours, he brings his workout clothes, and I'm like, I'd rather just like, you know, get brunch and a mimosa. But, you know, we keep each other balanced.
I love it. Balance is where it's at. Where can we find out more about you guys and Poppi? What's the best place to go?
Yeah, so check us out on social media with @drinkpoppy. Our website's drinkpoppy.com. And then you can literally buy us in every single grocery store in the nation.
And if you can't find us, let us know so we can go sell it in.
And Amazon.
Yeah.
I love it. Hey, on that note, we're going to wrap this puppy up. Thank you for joining me on Unlocking Moves. Please go find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Go like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. If you don't like, give us a 5-star review after today's episode. There's something wrong. So, Allison and Stephen, thank you so much for joining me on Unlocking Moves.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for having us.
If you're an entrepreneur and you think you might have outgrown a member of your team, or maybe you've got a mic, as we talked about in Who's Your Mic, check out this quiz at who'syourmic.com/quiz. That's who'syourmic.com/quiz.